Hey everyone, Brian Kelly here. Welcome to another episode of the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast. And now, let's get into the episode.
All right, welcome to the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast, another episode. And I have here with me my dear friend Chris Bassett. And you guys are in for a great show today because Chris has been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. Is that what they say?
Several of them.
several t-shirts.
Worn some of them out.
Chris is part of our church here in Florida, and we're just blessed to have met him. Chris also works at the Calvary Chapel Bible College, and what I forgot to mention, in his official title, Dr. Chris Bassett, although you don't like that too much. He's just a normal guy. He's not a real
just
doctor.
Another thing you're going to lay at Jesus' feet, right?
Another thing at Jesus' feet, yeah. And Chris is part of the ministry here, part of the Bible College. But Chris has a really unique and amazing background, not only in ministry training, church planting, but also in his military career. So I want to start at the very beginning, and we're going to be talking about ministry in the military. We'll talk about church planting. We'll talk about the Bible College and some of the opportunities for our service members, men and women, veterans, and some opportunities for them. But interesting story. Right at the very beginning, you were saved at Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa with the legendary one and only
Chuck Smith.
Yep. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your salvation story?
Yeah, so I was just a kid growing up in South Florida, and then we moved to Anchorage, Alaska. My parents had divorced, so I was with my dad and stepmom. And my mom had gotten saved in 1978, the year before I went down, actually. And she took us for a summer. So we flew down, stayed there, and she took us to Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa. And they had this really cool thing where Saturday nights they did the free Saturday night concerts. And these kind of no-name people like Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith. And,
never heard of them. And
back then they were kind of no-name. They were just getting their start. And so in one of the services, I just responded to a call. I kicked myself for this because Greg Laurie spoke one week. He spoke, I think, the second week. In the first week, it was a different pastor, and I can't remember his name. But I responded to the message, asked Jesus to be my Lord and Savior. And he already was, but I just submitted finally.
Yeah, exactly.
And then went back to Alaska, and wasn't around a Calvary Chapel church close enough for a teenager to drive to, obviously, or pretty much anywhere until we moved here to Bradenton 3 years ago. So
very cool. Yeah, I'm glad you did. You had a little bit of an experience in between when you got saved and when you moved to Bradenton, and how old were you when you went into the military?
22 or 23. I was pinned on lieutenant as I was graduating from college at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. I'd gone through ROTC there, and so I think I was 22, about to turn 23 at that time.
All right. How many years did you spend in the military?
Well, my official records say 35. So.
Ooh.
No, in fairness, it was National Guard and then followed by reserves.
Okay.
So National Guard up until 2015, and then reserves from 2015 to 2023.
Okay. Very cool. You have been overseas. You've been deployed. You've like I said in the beginning, been there, done that. What I'm most fascinated about, and I don't know if our listeners will be or not, but hey, it's my show. I get to talk about whatever I want. But I'm thinking about in the topic of church planting, and we're always encouraging people, we need more churches, we need more local fellowships, so that people, as they come to Christ, they're going to get plugged in, because it's not enough. Like you mentioned, getting saved at Costa Mesa, but then you went back home. There wasn't a Calvary Chapel church there. I'm sure there are probably other good evangelical churches, but going to a place where you're away from home, you're away from your salvation experience, whatever, getting plugged in, discipled happens in the context of a local church. So before I ask this question, why don't you tell us about your career in the military, most specifically your work as a chaplain in the armed forces?
Okay, so I actually started out as an aviator, flying, and this will age me a little bit, but Hueys and Cobras.
Cool.
The old vintage ones.
Yeah.
And then right about the time we were transitioning to more upgraded platforms, I was feeling a calling to ministry that I'd long kind of had in the background of my head for many years. And so I was looking at going to seminary, and I ended up going to Fuller Seminary for their Seattle campus. But so as I was exploring that, I was looking at, well, gosh, if I'm going to do seminary, I got to get out of, I got to stop something, because I was a police officer full time. I'd been doing, the reserves flying, which requires a lot of extra time. So I'm like, I probably should, quit this flying thing and focus on what God's called me to do. And somebody pointed out to me that, well, you can, while you're in seminary, you can actually become a chaplain candidate.
Okay.
And spend that time going through seminary, finish, and get your chaplain's cross, and then you enter as a chaplain full time.
Okay.
And so
you get paid for that?
Yes.
To be a chaplain? Nice.
Yeah, same. You go through the same rank structure that all the other officers do,
Okay.
and so you get that pay connection. I really love what they did recently by taking the rank off chaplains' uniforms.
Oh, wow.
Which
Okay.
I had long said was a huge hindrance, because we had a lot of people that were we used to say leaned more on the rank collar back
okay.
when we had them on our collars.
So they wouldn't, if they were a higher rank, they wouldn't respect what you had to do or say, or is that the problem, or what was it?
Well, some chaplains, the rank got to their head.
Oh,
And
I see.
And
Okay.
I mean, maybe it did to me every now and then too. I can't claim purity, but I don't recall ever really, being too caught up on the rank side.
Are there different ranks in the chaplaincy? Like you can move up in rank?
Yeah, same structure as
Okay.
the ranks for the officers in
Okay.
the regular military. So you start out as a lieutenant and you work all the way up as far as you can go. So
Wow.
until they kick you out. Or you
So they
retire.
removed that from the chaplains.
Well, they're still in the rank structure, so they
Okay.
still get the same pay structure. They still carry that rank. They just don't wear it on their uniform anymore.
I
It's the
see.
cross.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I boast in nothing except for the cross of
Amen.
Jesus Christ.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that opens up ministry better to young soldiers, because when I was walking around as a colonel, everywhere you walk, you have to be conscious of the impact that you're going to have. Because I'd go out to the field and I'd walk into a tent and they'd call everybody to attention. I'm like, guys, I'm the chaplain. And then I'd leave. I'd go somewhere else. I'd come back. They'd call everybody to attention. So no matter what you did, that colonel thing sticks out to everybody.
Right.
So removing that, I suppose the age would start to give you away a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly. They're still going to call to attention.
Maybe, but I think it brings the chaplain closer to the people.
Yeah, and that's what you want.
So yeah,
Because the chaplain, for all intents and purposes, is basically a pastor in the military.
yeah, we're sort of dual-hatted, because on the one hand, you're the pastor to your soldiers or to your airmen or to your Marines. So you have that pastoral role. You're a counselor, you're a suicide intervention person.
Yeah.
You're, the guy who marries and buries. You're the guy who does all of the pastoral roles. You hold services. On the other side, you're the advisor to command. So
okay.
Morals, morale, and ethics is kind of the package. And so you keep an eye on what's going on. You don't give up any confidential stuff, but you want to go
Right.
to the commander and say, hey, I've noticed this.
Yeah.
Here's some possible solutions to make changes.
Would they come to you and ask advice for specific scenarios, like if it's moral or not, or?
It depends on the commander. One thing that I've noticed, and I love the changes that are happening within the military chaplaincy. Chaplains had long been being pushed to the side and becoming sort of mascots.
Okay.
They had chaplains that go around giving out candy in the field and
Right.
things like that, and it really diminishes the role of the chaplain. But at the same time, the Judge Advocate General Corps had been elevating, and it got to the point where commanders almost didn't do anything without consulting their JAG. It depends on the commanders. You had commanders that had faith themselves or recognized the benefit of having a chaplain and would go to the chaplain for advice. But sometimes pretty much everything, even the moral side, went through the JAG office. And so it was all legal.
Because they're not really concerned about what's right and wrong. They're concerned about
what's legal.
Can I get away with this, or is this going to cause problems for me? Yeah,
so it's and our society is kind of structured that way now too.
Yeah,
everything's about whether we're legal, not whether we're moral.
Yeah.
Whether what we're doing will get us in trouble as opposed to what we're not doing may get us in trouble.
Yeah, and legal is not always moral. So.
Exactly. So you end up with a situation where commanders, CEOs, all these people really aren't the ones running their company. It's the lawyers.
Yeah.
The commanders aren't running they're doing some basic things. They're more paper shufflers, and the JAGs are the ones stepping in and making all the decisions for them because they're afraid that if they make this decision, they're going to be in legal trouble.
Right.
Which then pushes things the direction of whoever is in charge of the military, which is why we had sort of the woke expansion in the military for so many years.
Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't there like a commercial, like, I remember on social media, it was like a Russian military commercial, and there's like all these tough guys, and they're like, they got their shirt off, jumping out of helicopters and stuff, and then we had, never mind. I don't want to get in trouble.
You probably already got there.
Yeah, probably already in trouble.
Yeah, and sadly, that was the image we were giving around the world, as opposed to being war fighters who, and this is, well, as the chaplain, your desire is to see people coming to know Jesus Christ, or as a Christian chaplain. Yeah. And so when you have an environment like that, there's a lot more brazenness against morality, against particularly Christian morality.
Because it's kind of raw and like almost primitive in the sense where you're out there and you're battling, and it's like, you kind of lose your way a little bit, maybe.
Well, really, it's actually back in the training area. It's back in peacetime.
Okay.
That a lot of that stuff is fostered in the battle space. You have a lot of immorality still finds its way to the battle space.
But there are no atheists in the foxhole.
They say that, and but I've seen some
pretty big
hardened cases. Yeah. But just this is the neat thing about chaplaincy ministry, is that you get to go and be an influence with people like that.
Yeah.
And you're not looking as you recognize that you're a seed planter, a waterer. You're not necessarily going to always be there for the final event when they come to know Jesus. One of the greatest joys about having something like Facebook or that kind of thing is that I've been able to follow a lot of the people that I ministered to 20 years ago who are now faithfully following Jesus.
Yeah.
And I can just say, maybe I planted some seeds that have grown. So you meet people in the battle space at a place where their stress is highest. And one guy I knew before we went to Afghanistan, I have to put it in the right context. He was an avowed atheist. I mean, just hardcore. And we happened to bunk together in training before we deployed, and so we would have conversations all the time. And he'd always be challenging me this or that. One day he emailed me a list of like 100 inconsistencies in the Bible.
Oh boy!
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to answer this. And so I sat down. And I typed out, I think, 10 pages. For the first 10 inconsistencies, explaining why these are not contradictions. And then I'm like, I'm not going to answer 100.
No.
I can't do 100 pages. So I did 10 more pages.
That's a whole book.
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe I should have done it.
You should have done it. You would have had a book.
But I did 10 more pages, and I just randomly chose 10 more out of the 90 that was left. And I sent him that, and he could not believe that I had taken the time to respond to all that. I said, I figured if I responded to 20 of the 100, you'd get the pattern. To see that
a lot of them are similar.
The things that are put out there by atheists to say these are inconsistencies, contradictions in the Bible that prove that it's not true. But when a rational explanation comes in, and you're scientifically explaining stuff, you know, then that kind of opens the heart a bit. And so we kept having conversations throughout our deployment, but his father died halfway through the deployment. And it was just a real privilege to be there because I was the one he called to sit and talk about, his father's death. Yeah. Because he's, 8,000 miles away from where he can do anything about it. And so, he didn't call his commander. Yeah. He didn't call his buddies. Yeah. He called the chaplain who had taken the time to respond to his atheistic, attacks and do it, graciously. And I was able to be there for ministry. I don't know what he's doing now. I followed him for quite a while, but we lost contact. But
that's significant to have a person in the place where they can be of most use. That was in Afghanistan?
Yes.
How is it, and you're a very smart guy, you understand the ethics and morals and most importantly the scripture. So I come from a missionary background. A lot of our podcast listeners are missionaries, church planters, and have kind of that heart. So you want to go into all the nations, preach the gospel. Mm-hmm. How difficult is the conflict between wanting to be the light of the world and also having to uphold your duty as a soldier in some of these conflicts where you're actually battling against certain nations? I'm not even talking about the justice or injustice, so we'll just say that's the right thing you should be doing. What's the conflict that you see internally with people that have kind of both, like yourself?
Because I was a police officer, I had long dealt with that, right?
Okay,
so I had law and grace.
Yeah.
And so the nice thing about chaplaincy is that, first of all, you're not inside the walls of the church. Chaplaincy takes ministry outside to where the rubber meets the road. Yeah. And so you're out there where a lot of pastors will never meet, meeting people a lot of pastors will never meet. Yeah. And that's God's design. Pastors are there to take care of the flock. Yeah. But chaplains are one of the people that he sends out, like missionaries, whether it's street missionaries or overseas missionaries. And so you're there specifically to be in the lives of other people, and you don't worry about what's going on politically. You don't worry about what's going on, with nation versus nation conflict. If you're called to do that ministry, you're called to be there for those soldiers. Yeah. Okay. Whatever conflict they're sent to.
I get it. Yeah.
So for instance, we had mandatory vaccinations for anthrax before going to Iraq in 2004.
Not the band.
What's that?
Not the band.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't force us to listen to that. Like the Clockwork Orange, put on the headphones.
Yeah, put on the headphones. Wouldn't be too bad.
So, but they, then we had like a series of 6 shots, and a friend of mine in the unit didn't want to take them. He had a religious objection, and I'm like, well, I totally honor your religious objection, but you got to realize you're going to get prosecuted and sent home. And he's like, I don't care. And I'm like, so I finally had to let him know, because he had a ministry role. Hey, you have to ask yourself, did God call you to be here? Yeah. If God called you to be here, then he's going to give you cover for whatever the military requires for you to be here. Right. It's kind of like going overseas as a missionary.
Yeah, of course. Certain countries you're required, if you want to get in, you have to get the yellow fever or whatever it is.
Yeah. And now I had an objection to the COVID vaccines once they came out, so I feel like kind of a hypocrite. But it was a very different situation. We were being deployed to war.
You're in Florida now, Chris. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I'm not worried now. But I put in my religious objection, said I'm not going to do it. I'm willing to suffer any consequences. Yeah. If you court-martial me, that's fine. Yeah. I'm just not going to do this one. Yeah. So there were probably equally as many problems with the anthrax vaccine. But I was young and stupid, and I knew my call. I also knew that when the COVID vaccine was coming out, I'm retiring in a year. I'm not going to take that.
Maybe you're calling me to.
And for anybody that thinks I'm anti-vaccine, I've probably had 10 times as many vaccinations as anybody I know.
I have too. Going overseas, it's like. They're doing. Sadly, they got Ebola in Uganda now, which is where we ministered. Yeah, they've had outbreaks from time to time, and I don't even know if there is a vaccine for that, but it's not good, not a good thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Talking about chaplains, one of my favorite books books plural on prayer, E.M. Bounds, who is a great writer on prayer, and I found out after reading his books and hearing about prayer that he was actually a chaplain in the Civil War way back in the I don't know if you knew that, but he was, and he has some of the some biographical or autobiographical stuff was so interesting to me at the time. I haven't read it since I was in my 20s, but it kind of blew my mind to think, we often put religious people, this is what they do. They go to church, they live in a suburban neighborhood, you put a Jesus fish on their car and listen to Christian music. And then, the world people they go to the wars and they go into the, you kind of don't mix them up, I guess. I guess I didn't. But hearing his testimony was pretty amazing, and yours as well, about the influence that we can have in the most dangerous places and the most atheistic or unchristian places. And that brings me to that question I started with at the beginning, and it was, when soldiers are believers, because there's a lot of believers in at least the U.S. Armed Forces.
Yes.
How do they, because we always talk about church planting, we need churches in every place. How does one in the military keep their faith strong and rooted even when they're, in uncertain areas? Because you can get deployed, you can get transferred, you're in Korea one day at a base, and then the next day you're in, Germany, and the next day you're in. There's more.
Day to day might be a little more like year to year. Yeah, I get you.
And some of them are more desirable than others, right? Where do you want to be if you're in the military? Where's the good place to be deployed?
My favorite place was in Hawaii. I'd fly from Seattle down to Honolulu, and I'd always take a day off in my couple weeks there to go to North Shore. So they're always favorite places.
If you want to be in the good place, it's Hawaii.
Now it depends on what your duty station is. Like if you, some people hate doing infantry at the barracks. I can't remember the name of the barracks there, but if you're doing hard infantry training in Hawaii in their red clay, dirt,
it's not so much fun.
Your boots are stained, your body's stained. It's hot and muggy. But then when you get time off, it's kind of fun. But a lot of people would get rock fever. They'd be out there on that island for a long time, and they're not
almost
used to being
claustrophobic a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a geographic claustrophobia. But some people love their home base in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Some people love being elsewhere. I have a son in Fort Stewart. He's looking forward to his next duty station.
Okay. Does he know where it's going to be?
No, not yet. But he loved being back home at Fort Lewis.
Yeah.
But you were asking about the importance of how do you keep your faith together?
Right. Yeah.
And that's, in fact, I got to pray for a young man on Sunday morning who's going off to the Air Force.
Okay.
And what was funny is they didn't know I was a chaplain, and they were like, "No way!"
Yeah, Chris is part of the service prayer team at the church here.
Yeah, so I just prayed for a blessing over him. I gave him some advice. Get close to your chaplain, a good one. I mean, you can always look elsewhere if yours isn't so good.
Right.
There are good chaplains and bad chaplains.
Yeah. And they're not all Christian, like they have all the faiths, right?
Yeah, and all the faiths are represented.
So start with a Christian, find a good. That's good advice.
Yes, but this is the cool thing about the chaplaincy is that one of our mandates is to ensure that the First Amendment right to freedom of religion is kept in every unit that we're found.
Yeah.
To make sure that is at the forefront of the mind of commanders. So ensuring that services are held, ensuring that people have access, and we even make sure that access for Muslims and Jews and Hindus,
because they have the same rights.
They have the same rights.
Yeah.
So we have what's called perform or provide. If we can't perform a religious duty for someone, we provide an opportunity.
Okay.
So whether we're finding an imam for a Muslim community, or whether we're providing a worship space for them, we ensure that right is enshrined in the Constitution, is upheld for them too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have the full freedom to act as religious ministers according to our denominational bounds.
Okay.
So anything, and even our own religious convictions. So if our denomination, for instance, we had guys that their denomination was starting to allow homosexual marriages.
Some of the liberal stuff.
Yeah, but they were not down with that. So they were like, well, I can perform up to here, but I'm not going to provide a ceremony.
And they wouldn't get penalized or in trouble for that. It's
correct. It's part of their faith.
Yeah.
So they have the same religious rights. You can't be forced as a religious person to act outside of your religious beliefs.
Right.
So you have this massive amount of freedom within the bounds that God has given you. But at the same time, all the protections that say that freedom can't be abused. You can't be told, no, you need to go over and do a Hindu service.
Right.
You need to go and be part of this pagan ritual.
Yeah.
So I think that's the importance of chaplaincy, is being there to ensure those soldiers have those rights maintained. And then, to me, the even more important thing is the what we call the ministry of presence, where you are there amongst the troops. And I always told my subordinate chaplains, it's not the knowledge you bring, it's not your exegetical method and your hermeneutical spiral and all these other things that you bring to the table when you're making a sermon. It's who you bring into the room.
Yeah.
And when you bring Jesus into the room with a room full of soldiers, first of all, you always get the funny responses from the soldiers who aren't Christian, who will like cuss and then go, "Oh, sorry, chaplain."
Yeah, I get that as a pastor all the time.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, pastor.
And then, but then the soldiers who are Christians, who young kids who are first time away from home, in a training environment, or even more in a combat zone, they're struggling, because they've never had to maintain their faith outside of their family and outside of a support structure.
Yeah.
And so you come in with the support structure. You bring that with you, and you bring Jesus into the room, and you lift them up.
Yeah.
I often tell a story. When I was in flight school, we went to they had a bunch of different classes that you went to become an officer. One of them, ironically, was an English class. You figured that after all the schooling you went to, you'd be good at that. Not so much, but you had to learn Army writing. And so they asked us, they did a survey of all of us at Aviation Officer Basic Course of who are our heroes. And we went table to table, probably about 6 people per table, 8 tables or so. And they're all naming off, John Wayne and Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'm aging myself again.
Yeah.
and all these other guys. And it occurred to me after our table had shared, I'd forgotten the most important hero I had. And so I raised my hand and I said, hey, I kicked myself because I forgot to mention Jesus is my hero.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of head nodding. Oh yeah, I can't believe we forgot that.
That's what I was going to say.
But I had like half a dozen guys, and this was early on in the whole schooling process. And so I had a half dozen of them come up and say, "Hey, thank you so much for mentioning that. I had totally forgotten myself, and it makes me feel better, and to know that there are other Christians in the group." And so when you come in as a chaplain and you sort of raise the banner in the room, you encourage the faith of so many people.
Yeah.
And it reminds them of who they are in Christ.
Right.
And it encourages them to live according to that.
It's not just something they left back at home. It's right here as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about church services and stuff like that? Is there opportunity for soldiers to attend services? I mean, what's the protocol for all that?
Yeah, I preached in services in both Iraq and Afghanistan. In fact, I had 3 services that I would do in Iraq. I had a Sunday morning service that I provided for my own battalion guys, and then at noon I would go and be part of the African American service, what they call the gospel service.
The gospel service,
yeah.
That's
so
fun.
out of 5 pastors, chaplains running that service, I was the 5th. I was the white guy.
You were the white guy,
and I absolutely loved it, man. It was fun.
Yeah.
Because they respond when you preach to them.
Oh, I know. Yeah, believe me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Africa it was same thing. It's just.
Oh yeah.
It's so much easier to preach when
they encourage you, man.
Yeah.
Tanzania was the same way.
Yeah.
They encourage you. But then in the evening I started a Pentecostal service because at the time I was Assemblies of God.
Okay.
And so I started a Pentecostal service on Sunday evenings in Saddam's Fish House, right across from the major palace where they had like 46 generals, all in there. So
is that the place where they had the golden toilet and all that stuff?
yeah, and they had a throne in there and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got pictures of me sitting on the throne. In fact,
okay,
not the
not
toilet,
the throne, the
not
real
the throne, the real throne. You are there for those services, but you also end up in Afghanistan was much more this way. I would preach at the Afghanistan Bagram Chapel. Like once every 5 weeks or so. But then the rest of the time I was flying around the rest of Afghanistan because I was the EOD chaplain and they were spread everywhere. Right. And so I would go and I would provide services wherever I was needed, whether it was just counseling one guy or whether it was providing a Bible study,
prayer group, like
whatever it was. So
that's so good. It's funny because I'm thinking, we talk about church planting a lot and I wonder if there's, because a lot of people will say, I'm thinking about planting a church. I'm listening to the podcast, and and through Cultivate, that's what we're doing is we help them get started in church planting. I wonder if there's someone listening or watching that's really listening to this and thinking, you know what? It's kind of like church planting when you go out and, you're not really like planting a church in one place in a building, but you are creating congregations where people are able to come to Christ and be discipled.
Well, when we see the latest stuff that's been going on throughout Western civilization, with the Muslims going and doing prayers in Times Square, that kind of thing, they have a strong belief, as we traditionally did as Christians, that everywhere they do that kind of thing, they're claiming territory.
Right.
And we need to reclaim that for ourselves. So everywhere that I went in Afghanistan, I was claiming territory. I truly believe that. Yeah. And I think that church planters do the same thing. They're claiming territory, not from other churches.
No. But from really, it comes down to principalities and powers.
Exactly.
The spiritual realm.
Exactly. You're hardening defenses in areas where there are a lot of churches.
It's funny because you think of the nation to nation, the physical battle, you're claiming territory, but there's a greater battle, spiritual, claiming territory.
Yeah, and I was a church planter too, so I've been there, done that as well. I got that T-shirt, worn and tattered, man. But so church planting can be both a lot of fun, especially if you're an entrepreneurial type, but it can be a real chore in setting up, in doing the outreach that needs to be done, in motivating people to participate,
volunteer,
and teaching them what it is to be the church.
Yeah,
it's not just a passive attendance thing; it's an active participation in the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. So keep going.
That's good. So you were a police officer as well.
Yeah.
And you were a chaplain for the police.
Actually, I did that separately. So I had did an early retirement from the police department so that I could go full-time ministry. Okay. And then ironically was called off to Afghanistan. Right. Within a few months, I was asked if I would go to Afghanistan, which is just a quick funny story. My wife prayed early on that I would leave police work for full-time ministry.
Right. To be safe.
And the first thing she prayed was that I would get a break because I had been doing lots of overtime. As a young police officer, you're always the one they put on the extra duties, and And so I arrested a guy and ended up taking him down to the ground, rolled my ankle, broke my ankle. And so I had a whole month off. And she goes, well, I guess I better be more specific when I pray for you to get a break. And then later,
you got a break.
And then later she was praying for me to be in full-time ministry, get out, so I got out and then went to Afghanistan.
Yeah, full-time ministry, congratulations.
You need to pray more specifically. But yeah, so I did police work for 15 years, and then I did a police chaplaincy for my local police department in Washington for about 4 or 5 years. And I actually, because I had police experience, when their bailiff retired, they asked me to be a court bailiff, so I jumped on board to be their court bailiff too. And so that was tough, because during that time was a time where I was like really coming to realize that I was burned out.
Yeah.
And which is what I ended up doing my doctorate in was my doctoral thesis was on pastoral burnout. And
you wrote a book on that.
I wrote a book on that.
Yep.
And it applies to pastors, missionaries, chaplains, but it's from the experience of a pastor and chaplain.
Yeah.
And God really took me to that, because I just started thinking, well, maybe I'll do my doctorate while things are slow.
I got some extra time. Let me get my doctorate.
Yeah, and so I was actually going to go to Tanzania. I was working with the military to go to Tanzania, work with the chaplaincy in Tanzania, and I was going to figure out a doctoral thesis to do from that. And that's when COVID hit.
Oh boy.
And literally, when everything shut down, it was a couple weeks later that they were asking us to give our doctoral thesis statement. And I'm like, well, my thesis statement was just shot.
Yeah.
And so I came up with, I think God planted it, burnout among first responder chaplains.
Yeah.
And that's the way that went. And the more I started to study, I'm like studying all the symptomology, and I'm like, that's me. That's me.
Hey, wait a minute. I know. Of course I know him. He's me.
Yep. So I ended up doing a book on that, and I tried to. Whenever I went to Tanzania, I would hand it out to the missionaries. And, say, take care of yourselves, guys.
Yeah. So, that's awesome. Fast forward to today. You must have. Sherry must have prayed very specifically and purposefully, because now you're in the beautiful Sunshine State of Florida. And you are here at the Calvary Chapel Bible College, and you not only teach classes, but you've also started working part-time just to help out the crew here. And I think it's awesome. What class are you teaching this semester?
Teaching two. I'm teaching John and Proverbs.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
So I'm excited about that.
Very cool. And I just want to add this to anybody that's watching or listening. If you want to get a hold of Chris, Calvary Chapel Bible College, they can get a hold of you and ask more questions. And we want you to come to the campus. But you mentioned something before we started about those who have opportunity from the military that might be able to get some advantage here with the Bible College. What was that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm working on two fronts because I work elsewhere as a school certifying official. Okay. So I certify courses for VA education benefits. And here I'm working on international students through the process that the U.S. has to bring them in for school specifically. But also, since I bring this other skill and certification, I'm working on the process, and it's a long process. They say 60 to 90 days, but part of the process is what you have to put together as a school to get officially blessed off to receive GI Bill, Chapter 30, 33, 35, 1606, tuition assistance, all these things that come in. And we actually just had an inquiry last week about, hey, do you guys take the GI Bill? And I so want to say, yes, we'll do it right. We'll do it very soon. Yeah. But it's going to take a bit. It may be spring semester before it's fully on board.
2027 spring.
Yeah, I'm hoping. That's
you heard it here first, folks.
Oh, great. Justin doesn't watch this, does he?
He does.
So I'm hoping that by spring we'll have that on board, and then I'll be able to start taking a GI Bill from students who really want a Christian education or are looking at pastoral ministry or those kind of things.
Because now that CCBC is almost done with the accreditation process, it's going to be much easier to get those kind of benefits.
Yeah. I mean, that opens up the door to a lot of stuff. So we're kind of in between right now. So we're in the in-between of the process as well, where we're not going to be treated like a non-accredited institution because we're a candidate, and we're soon to get accreditation. So
we're not fully there yet.
Yeah, so there'll be a little bit more work for us to get the GI Bill on board, but if while we're working on it, the accreditation comes through, boom, doors wide open.
Win-win.
So yeah.
Awesome, man. I feel like we could sit and talk about this stuff forever, but I really thank you for being on today, Chris.
Absolutely.
And I know where you work. I know where you go to church, so we'll get you back here. And like I said before, I think there may be a few people out there that have heard this or watched this and think, I'd never really thought about that, and that's something I'd like to pursue. So I really thank you for your expertise and your godliness and your example that you've set, Chris, and for being a part of our church.
Absolutely. If I could just say one more thing to those who are considering being a chaplain, whether it's military, police, fire, medical, hospital, institutional, most chaplaincy work centers around trauma. So make sure that you are prayed up on your own life traumas, because it's very easy to get triggered and it's very easy to get burned out. But realize that you're gonna study into and work with a lot of trauma. Because this world is just filled with it.
Yeah, I know.
So Maranatha, come Lord Jesus. But so be serious about understanding the calling and what you're being called to, and go in wide-eyed understanding that's the job. And it's okay to be burned out. It's not okay to stay that way. But it's okay to be burned out, because you want to leave everything on the field when Jesus returns.
Amen. Chris, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you, and talk to you later.
Thanks for the invite.
All right.
Blessings, brother.